1980. The tribunal concluded that the fire probably started here, beside the main bar, in empty seats in the west alcove. The alcove had tiered seating and tables rising to the back. On the night, it was screened off. According to the tribunal, someone probably slashed the seating here and set it alight, or lit newspapers on or under the seats. It believed that the fire then spread from the seats to the ceiling, and thick black smoke appeared in the alcove. The blaze then rapidly spread over the dance floor. The ceiling began to collapse. According to the tribunal, it was only then that the fire broke through the roof. This finding, that the fire started in seats and spread to the roof rather than the other way around, was crucial. If the opposite had been found, it might have led to a different conclusion on the cause of the fire. But it was a theory that in fact took hold very quickly.
For the moment, the police are satisfied that the fire did start in that corner over there.
The basis for this view was the first sightings of the fire by people inside.
It started where people said it started.
Which is where exactly?
In the cordoned off area. The cordoned off area.
So at that stage there was only two seats
blazing? Two seats blazing
at
the back, yes. A lot of smoke coming from them, but there were definitely only 2 seats blazing.
But the evidence of other witnesses flatly contradicts this. One was a barman, P.J. Murphy. He tried to tackle the flames. He told Primetime that he felt a monstrous heat coming from the ceiling. He gave evidence that he saw burning material coming from above. He still stands over that. And he said he was always positive that the fire started up in the ceiling. Tribunal experts tried to recreate the fire with newspaper and a match. Today's experts say the tests didn't match the Stardust reality. The results were impressive, but it took over 13 minutes for the fire to grow to this, and only with the help of more paper. And unlike the Stardust, the ceiling didn't collapse.
Now, the test clearly showed that the seats burning, the flames only went 6 to 8 feet high. The ceiling did not disintegrate.
None of the witnesses who were shown the footage of the tests agreed that in any way the test fire corresponds to what they saw on the night.
Just shortly after I got back onto the stage, scream went up and fireball across the ceiling, basically, and that was it. And then mayhem broke out.
In my view, the fire did not start in those chairs or seats in the back of the west alcove. I believe the fire was above the people's heads, above the suspended ceiling.
The new theory is that the fire started in the roof space and was raging above the dancers' heads long before it was spotted on the seats. The first recorded sighting inside was at 1:41 a.m, but several witnesses outside say they saw the fire earlier.
In order to accept the tribunal's conclusions that the fire was arson and that it started in the west alcove, there's a whole series of evidence that has to be cast aside, which the tribunal accepts as factual in their findings. There's the outside witnesses, Alan Buffini, whom the tribunal accepts as an accurate time, sees flames going to the roof at 1:28.
Anthony Paschetti was watching the fire with Alan Buffini on the night.
I could hear the crackling noise of a roar or whatever. Where I looked out the window, I could see the roof glowing. I then went downstairs. I got up onto the roof of our garage to get a better view. There, the flames were starting to come out through the roof at this stage, and I was joined then on the roof with my next door neighbour, Alan Buffini. This would have been about 25 to 2 in the morning.
This evidence is supported by a photo taken by a local resident at around 1:40 a.m. Another outside witness told Primetime, "It was shortly before 1:40 when I heard the crackling noise. I went to the window and saw a fire coming from the roof of the Stardust. The flames were about the height of a door." The height of those flames at those early times left the experts perplexed as to why the tribunal chose to rely more on the timings of the people inside spotting a small fire on a seat.
We have fire coming through the roof of the building when it's still about 1 metre high on the seat. That doesn't seem logical.
If you'd piled all the seats in the middle of the floor, like you would do at a Halloween bonfire, the flames would not go to 36 feet.
But not everyone is impressed by that evidence. The tribunal heard from a battery of expert witnesses. One of them, this man, fire scientist David Tucker. He was engaged by Dublin Corporation. His opinion has never changed.
My view is that somebody probably did slash a seat and set fire to it.
Do you think that it's possible that people would have seen flames that they describe as the height of a door, or another witness the height of a house?
No, I don't think it can be possible. It requires the asbestos cement roof to shatter to allow flames to get out, and that will make a loud noise. And I would have thought that somebody inside the Stardust would have heard that, if that had happened.
So in order for your theory to be right, the outside witnesses' timings have to be wrong?
Yes, in that they, I don't believe, can have seen flames through the roof before about 1:45.
But the theory that the fire started in the seating faces another major hurdle. One of the few people seated just in front of the west alcove was Linda Bishop. Shortly before 1:33, she felt a sudden change in heat. Heat that couldn't have come from a small fire spotted in seats well behind her 8 minutes later at 1:41.
It was a cold night, and like I say, went in, and probably because I never bothered to get up to dance around and just stayed cold. We're saying, we're freezing, I was there to go, freezing. And the bouncers passed by a couple of times and say, is there any chance to turn the heating on, you know? Any chance to turn the heating on? And then, like I say, at a certain stage then, I just felt suddenly warm, and I looked at my watch and said, no way, they're not turning the heating on now. It's 1:30. Actually, it was 1:33. Somebody bought me a digital watch for Christmas. I remember the light went on, it was 1:30. That's how I just remember that so clearly. But we were saying, they're turning the heating on now, it's nearly time to go home, you know. And that's, after a few minutes then, my friend said, come on, we'll get up and dance.
Well, it didn't worry her at the time, because she then went on to have a dance. So it wasn't something which concerned her at that time. I don't know whether her watch was actually accurate, but I think it's possible that the fire may actually have been burning at the back of the west alcove at that time.
So for somebody to tell me about 15 minutes later there was a small fire up there and I was feeling warm from it doesn't make sense to me. That's not the kind of sudden warmth I felt, you know.
Professor Delichatsias believes the tribunal missed the significance of evidence of witnesses like Linda Bishop. He believes that if the fire started in the seating behind her, she would have smelled smoke.
If the fire had started this way, as I have pointed earlier, then the Linda Bishop, what's her name, would have smelled the smoke, but before, long before feeling the heat. So this is not a valid conclusion anymore.
The family's doubt about the tribunal team's finding of arson in the alcove has another source. It's the tribunal report itself. Mr. Justice Keane admitted that there was no evidence to indicate arson. As the families considered how the fire could have started in the roof space, they began to focus on a lamp projection room and a storeroom close to roof height. They now believe the tribunal seriously underestimated the significance of these rooms. In particular, they say the tribunal appears to have been unclear on what was in the storeroom and how flammable its contents were.
For that volume of combustible materials to be in a concealed place is just, you know, in many ways beyond belief.
So what was in the store? A Garda statement merely mentions roller towels, detergents, washing up liquid and toilet paper. The tribunal report adds kitchen towels, drums of cooking oil and aerosols. In fact, a detailed list of the contents of the store was provided to the tribunal by the Butterleys. It included gallons of floor wax and table polish and large quantities of other flammables. But the list was never entered into evidence, and it was sent months after the reconstruction tests were carried out. The experts believe the tribunal never appreciated just how potent a fuel load was in there.
I would be firmly of the opinion that the storeroom contents were significant and had a major impact on the development of the fire within the roof void of the Stardust building.
Were you ever given a copy of that list or made aware of its existence?
No, I was never given a copy of this list, but the items on the list are things which I would have expected to have been present in the storeroom.
They were aware that the storeroom had some combustible material, but they were clearly unaware of the extent of that. The actual storeroom was in a sense, a bomb waiting to be ignited.
Primetime asked Professor Delichatius just how flammable some of the storeroom material was.
Oh, these are very flammable. I mean, I don't want you to test it at home, but they're very flammable. Okay, they can easily ignite if they are overheated, without flame, even.
Without flame?
Yeah, if they're overheated, they can ignite without flame.